Good morning, Penny.
Good morning, David.
Thanks for coming in today for this interview.
Thanks for the invitation.
And how are you feeling about doing this interview today for our
Well,
Facebook group?
I'm nervous. At the
Yeah.
same time, excited because it's an opportunity for me to um, articulate, where I am in my life and my relationship and my marriage, and to help me grow and hopefully give hope to others that are listening and watching.
Thank you, Penny. So, my name is David Cope, and I'm a founder with my partner Peggy Litt with a New Life Center. And I got involved in relationships after in, for a New Life Center after I was divorced. Became very important to me that I would someday have a loving and intimate relationship with another woman. I worked really hard on trying to find the secrets to what makes for a loving relationship, and finally found out that it actually starts with me. And in order to me to have a loving and intimate relationship, I had to build one with myself first. So a New Life Center's relationship course is based upon that foundation, is that in order to be happy and have a loving and intimate relationship, we must have a relationship with ourselves. Penny, can you talk a little bit about um, how long you've been married and a little bit of background about how you got here today?
Sure. Well, my husband and I have been married for 46 years this year, and I turned 68 in August. And I grew up in the age of happily ever after, and I have literally expected my husband to make me happy since day one.
So you are a graduate of a New Life Center's relationship class,
I am,
and
and
you
it
have a
has,
big smile on your face.
yes, I am. It has been the relationship class saved me and thus saved my marriage. Um,
What,
it's been a life changer.
and what was your marriage like before you took your program, Penny?
Well, my marriage seemed really, really good. However, I was never happy. My marriage and family looked like the perfect, on the outside looking in, looked like the perfect marriage. But my inner self was struggled all my life. And bless my husband, he has tried over the last 46 years to do things, everything that he could possibly can to make me happy. And it was realizing in this relationship course and class that it is not his responsibility, it is mine.
And so tell me a little bit about some of the struggles you had in your marriage that you said you had it on the outside, but how are you feeling about yourself all these years in this seemingly outward looking marriage that looked great? How are you feeling about yourself?
Um, Very, very low. I went into the depths of depression, even with a suicide attempt. And I have pulled myself out of that and bless my husband, the support and the love that he's given me. And I have just learned to that I am responsible for me and and must be the one that makes me happy and take that burden off of my husband.
So we talk about at a New Life Center that um, it's important that we realize that in this work, there has to be two good people trying to have a good relationship what you're suggesting is that your husband is what we call a good man, and
Very good man.
what's it like? How would you describe a good man as your husband, so our viewers have kind of a sense of what that might be described like?
My husband's center of focus throughout our life has been me and our family, our children and our grandchildren now. Work hard, um, and try to do everything, make suggestions for me, you know, do everything in his power to help me through the years to find something, to do something. Anything that I tried, he would support me in it. An incredibly good man.
And so, why were you struggling so much in your marriage if you had a good man, and why would you get depressed in your marriage? What?
David, I just could not find happiness. I never had a, there was always something that was pushing me to find something outside of myself. I was in all kinds of different groups, all kinds of different classes, and I still could never find the answer. I was looking for the answer outside of myself with everything.
Mhm.
And with this class, I have realized that I have the answers within me. The answers are not outside of myself. They're within me, and I have to build
Mhm.
myself up, and I have to be responsible for my happiness. And when I do that, it changes not only me, it reflects on my relationships and my marriage and my relationships with my husband, with my children, with my grandchildren, with my friends, with
Mhm. Thank you.
everything.
So, in the work that you did in our program, we focus on victim work. Can you talk a little bit about how the victim program, part of the program, shifted your awareness and some of the challenges you had looking yourself as a victim?
Yes, I would without reservation say that the victim work was monumental for me in myself and my marriage. I When I came to a place that I was willing, and I had to be willing to look at that because this work, it's hard. It's hard to look within and see the way I have acted and said and done through the years. But the victim work that I did, that took me back to the very beginning of our marriage 46 years ago,
Mhm.
unknowingly, that program was running within me. I was a victim to my husband in at least 8 very significant areas.
Mhm.
First, I expected him to make me happy. I expected him to be my Prince Charming, make things all better. I expected him to be doing other things that he didn't do. And
Mhm.
I was disappointed in him. And all of that fed into the way I treated him, the way I spoke to him, our
Mhm.
exchange and conversations. And the victim work was monumental, a monumental step for me in
Would
this
you say
work.
you were a little bit stubborn looking at that?
Extremely. Little bit doesn't even cover it,
Why
David.
and why is it so hard what would you like to share to our listeners about why that's so hard and also the benefits?
After I looked at how I was holding myself victim and thus holding my husband prisoner in that victimization, I realized, I'm sorry, David, would you ask the question again?
Sure.
I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
okay. So, why is it so hard? Can you share why it's so hard to look at ourselves as victims and why that
Yes.
was so
Okay,
hard?
thank you.
But why, what's the, you talk
Well,
about the value of it, but
it was very shameful. I was
mhm,
very, very ashamed of how looking back and realizing how I had acted and the things that I said. And so for me, I have realized, and in the beginning of this work, um, after I realized that the shame was so profuse that I was willing to do this work first for him because he deserved better. And when I stepped into it, then as I started being more conscious about what he contributes and what a beautiful person he is, and how I was able to, it switched. And then
mhm,
then I realized that I was doing it for me
mhm,
and he was benefiting as well. But the shame of the reality of how a woman can and we do treat our men is pretty harsh
mhm,
and hurtful. And so when I began this work, I did it because Phil deserved better, and
thank you,
he
Penny.
deserved to be taken uh, taken off the burden of me.
Well, thank you. That was very heartfelt, Penny. So, how did the program, when you got into it, create some shifts in your awareness about yourself and your relationship? What are some of the things that you would like to share?
Well, one of the other things that was just really, really helpful was realizing the difference in men and women and our makeup, and what and how simple and straightforward men are, and how complicated women are, and how I realized in that, how much I over the years had expected Phil to, be my buddy and be my confidant and be my best friend and chat it up, and and stuff. And I was
Mhm,
always disappointed in things like that because I had expectations that a man just cannot provide a woman. And so understanding that, I mean, even when I am come home from work and how
mhm,
I share my day, I've changed in the way um, I I don't tell him about my day in a way that gives him the message that I need him to fix it for me, because I have to fix my own stuff throughout the
mhm,
day. And when I come home and I unload about this and that and the other, my husband automatically in his he wants to help me fix it.
mhm,
And then if and before I would just blow him off, which made him, I know, feel like, well, I tried, but a failure. And and so just stopping and understanding how I can share my day that doesn't burden him,
mhm,
that he can share in my day, but without responsibility of
mhm.
it.
Right. And can you think of any other shifts that happened that the program helped you be aware of?
I'm kinder.
Mm,
I'm softer.
mhm. What does
I
that mean? How does that show up, Penny, and kinder and softer in?
well, I I try very hard to say things. I try to be in my heart, David,
Mhm.
in my relationship, and not in my head, and try to be um, genuine with who I am, not be
Mhm.
afraid to make mistakes or to and another thing to ask Phil, when I hurt his feelings or I say something or I look a certain way, and for him to be able to tell me so that I become aware and can change and
Mhm.
apologize. I
Yeah.
find myself apologizing to
Wow.
my
Is that
husband.
something new for you to
Yeah,
apologize?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would never even, let me give an example. Uh, there was a opportunity where, with a golf tournament that Phil's paid tickets for some partners on a team. And when I found out that he'd paid that money, I reacted and absolutely reacted with I didn't say a word, but my facial expression, which I had no idea before, and it came up in a conversation later, and he said to me, he said, "Honey, y- your look, if looks could have killed, I'd have been dead on the spot."
Mhm.
And it was such a realization for me. And I was so grateful that he was able, brave enough, excuse me, brave enough to tell me. And that, so my softness came out in that
Mhm.
because I was genuinely sorry. I was genuinely just blown away and genuinely knew that he was right because
Mhm.
I took myself back in that moment and I knew how I was
Mhm.
feeling inside. It didn't come
Mhm.
out of my mouth, but it did come out of my expression, and he got the message loud and clear,
Yeah.
and it it hurt him.
Mhm.
And so we've come to that. That is so specific with how our relationship is changing, that
Mhm.
Phil is is feels safe enough
Mhm.
to
Good.
be able
Well.
to tell me,
Mhm.
hey, you hurt me. That hurt. And I am soft enough now within
Mhm.
myself
Mhm.
to respond instead of react.
Well, that's beautiful, Penny. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any other things you'd like to share that's changed about your marriage? I know your husband's retired and you're working. Anything?
Um, I just appreciate Phil more. I love I love kind of he loves the garden. He loves the flowers and the vegetables in the yard, and sometimes that's not my thing, but I love to watch him because he's so, it's just taking time to just appreciate this man that is in my life.
Mhm.
I don't think I did that before.
Yeah. And did you know why you didn't? And we talked about maybe some of the things that being an ice queen or
Yeah.
somebody, yeah, not having empathy with your husband. Is there anything that you could share
Yeah.
that how you used to be? Because you sound so
Well,
wonderful.
I just I feel like that my understanding and knowing, this sounds and it's horrible, but I feel that I I was in a space of men can take anything. They're men. They don't have feelings and dreams and thoughts I mean, it was almost like men were not human, or it, I mean
Mhm.
that's horrible to say, but the way the burden that I have put on Phil for my happiness is like treats him like a non-human. It's,
Mhm.
I taking him never taking him into consideration in things, always thinking that what I want uh, always
Mhm.
should come first, and he should provide it. So it's like it's almost a dehumanization
Mhm.
acting over the years of not even taking moments that you can treasure just by being sitting beside one another or watching him do the things that he loves, encouraging him
Mhm.
to to do what he loves to do. He loves to golf, and I have no problem with him going golfing with his friends and enjoying one of his passions,
Mhm.
and not and just allowing, just being open and allowing and learning new things about him, you know. And um 46 years, and it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Or
Mhm.
um yeah,
So
it's great.
how would you describe your marriage in general now after the program?
I think I know my marriage is more solid than it ever has been. I am committed in my
Mhm.
marriage, which is, um, when I started in this course, that was a very, very difficult realization for me, but I was not committed to my marriage almost from the very, very beginning
Mhm.
because I was a victim.
Mhm.
And that's a pretty mind blowing, pretty
Mhm.
difficult, shameful thing to think that after all these years. And so I it's wonderful to have that solid feeling of I'm I'm in it
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
I'm really in it. And before I was just on the outskirts of it pretending,
Mhm.
and it wasn't even real.
Mhm. Thank you, Penny. You're sharing so wonderfully. Anything you would like to say to our audience? Any advice to the women that are listening?
Well, I think the biggest message that I would like to say is that it is never too late.
Mhm.
Like I said in the beginning, David, I'm turning 68 years old in August. Phil and I've been married for 46 years. And you know, you I guess I would could think, well, it's too late now. I'm just
Mhm.
going to stick it out, and but that's so um defeating.
Mhm.
And when you can step in and really learn how to make yourself happy, which will automatically feed your relationship in a way that it never has before. And we laugh sometimes in our classes and stuff of this, of it's like magic, but it is when I take care of myself and I
Mhm.
do the things that I need to do in my relationship with me, it is like magic with Phil. I show up differently. I show up as me, and I would just so strongly um, encourage all ages of women, all relationships, no matter 46 or 6 months. It's so important and so beneficial.
Mhm.
And why not? It's why not? I mean, it's hard work. It doesn't feel good at times, and but it's so, so worth it if you
Mhm.
truly, truly want to fix it.
Mhm.
It's the only way I ever found, and I've looked. many, many, many years.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Penny. Eh, I really appreciate you being so heartfelt and sharing. You've done a wonderful job. Is there
Thank you.
anything you'd like to say in closing? I know before we sign off, and
Well, I just am grateful for this opportunity and to share. And I hope that um, whoever's listening is, will take some time and look within and make a good decision for yourself. And because this program is incredible and it works. So thank you, David, for this opportunity.
thank you, Penny, for coming in and doing this interview. So, if anybody would like more information about a New Life Centers program, on your in the Facebook, if you want a private message, either Karen, who is our lead teacher, or Peggy, who is my partner, they'd love to have a conversation with you, talk about the issues you might have in your marriage and how this program might be a fit. This program isn't for everybody. It's a hard work, and we have to look at ourselves. It's not a band-aid approach, as you can hear with Penny. It makes deep internal changes and shifts in how we feel about ourselves. So they're long-term lasting changes because you learn a fundamental way of having a relationship with yourself. So thank you, Penny, for coming in. It's been a pleasure sharing this, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye.